Welcome to Urban Legends in 5 with your hosts, Smartwatch, Neil and Chris, and Omas. Bluetooth speaker.
Hello and welcome to the extra special 100th episode of Urban Legend, the podcast that's been going on for very long and is the internet's largest urban legends podcast by volume. They said it couldn't be done. Sorry, misread that.
It shouldn't be done, Chris.
It shouldn't be done. Everyone said it shouldn't be done, but as always, we thumbed our noses at the consensus. I am one of your hosts, Chris Flynn, and that other cheeky chap was Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Neil, 100 episodes. Did you think we'd come this far?
Isn't it? No, I thought we'd get bored after about 10, Chris, to be honest with you.
Did you?
Much like most of the listeners.
Yeah, it's had this weird. It's had a weird hypnotic staying power for us, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've made committed to it.
I'll be honest with you, I was going to do like a soundboard or something like that, but I couldn't be bothered in the end. But what I have done, Neil, if you look in my ear piercing there, I'm wearing a rather large cubic zirconia ear stud, like maybe Usher would wear or something. But his would be a real diamond. Yeah. Because the bloodiest of blood diamonds.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I thought I'd wear that to dress up for the occasion, and I can see you're wearing your yellow dungarees, your formal wear.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's good.
This is my version of a white tie dinner jacket. And tails.
You've kind of got them unbuckled on one shoulder, kind of like a sexy farm boy, or Giant Haystacks a wrestler.
Maybe both will get unbuckled later on. Let's see what happens. That's
nice. It is quite warm today, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So Neil, how do you think? How have you enjoyed doing 100 podcast episodes with me, a man who you barely knew before we started?
It's been revealing in all the worst ways. Yeah, no, it's been all right, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been fine.
Was it the better part of 2 years?
Yeah, coming up to 2 years, coming up to the 2-year anniversary.
We've gone over 2 years by now in terms of having been doing this, haven't we?
No. Well, maybe. So we released, our first release was 10 episodes because we recorded 10 and then to give it, I don't know. I can't remember the thinking behind it. It was like, if people really enjoy it, then there's stuff here for them to listen to, sort of idea. Sort of a sort of mind dump.
It was just a small amount of kind of optimism and effort at the start, which we've...
Well, also, I think it's quite good because we got 10 done and we were like, yeah, we don't really care if people hear these, it's fine. So
just as well, we thought that,
yeah. So what would you get? How would you score us out of 10 so far now?
I mean, it depends. Do you mean like against all podcasts or just like... I don't know.
No, to your own expectations, to society's expectations, maybe.
From my expectations, we're probably running about a 7.5, 8 out of 10. I think it's I don't think we're doing too bad.
Well, we've gone.
Depends what you want, isn't it?
We've gone from like 20 listeners a month to a couple of hundred a month. Do you know that? Like, so at that pace, by the heat death of the sun, we can maybe jack in our jobs.
We'll get in and
do it
Spotify one or whatever.
But yeah, we'd like to thank everyone who has listened and people who do listen. Some people drop in and out, and that's cool. Very few people who've listened to all of them. Perhaps that's wise. But yeah, we'd like to say thank you. Thank you for your listening. I would say thank you for your feedback, but we don't get any. So no thanks. No thanks there at all.
Not required, but that's fine. If you just want to listen, then that's cool.
If you just want to listen, if you just, if you just
like watching, you don't like to participate, that's it's fine.
That's up to you. We're not here to shame.
We're not judging.
So we're going to do quite a large, well-known one this time because it's our 100th
we figured
episode.
We keep dancing around, sort of doing some of the bigger ones. I think we've done a couple of bigger ones in the past, but with Mary Celeste, I thought was a reasonbly biggish one, but they're not always that interesting, unfortunately. But we got one that even I've heard of this week. So this is a big one.
But before we get into it, Neil, how's your week been? What have you been up to?
Yeah,
you know, I like to keep abreast of these things.
Just let people know what's been going on. Yeah, we're on a bank holiday weekend here in Brighton, so
just Brighton.
Yeah, just Brighton. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. In the UK. Was the third in this month, because of course we had one for the coronation as well. So I've just spent the last 3 days just watching highlights of the coronation. The miserable-looking old man gets anointed with oil and struts around with an.
You know what? It's still fresh in your mind. To me, it's gone.
Do you reckon that's just ancient history to you?
It's ancient history, past. It's the past, man. It's a fast-moving time now. You've got
you've just got to soak up that glory. It comes but once a generation, Chris.
You've got to get your skates on, head towards the future, rather than the anchor of the past, which you're so keen on.
The future is coming up quite rapidly, and I'm not looking what's heading up on the motorway, to be honest with you.
Really?
Disastrous climate change, the economy getting even more fucked. Yeah.
Live on a hill, get a hat. What's your problem?
Yeah, good.
Simple, isn't it?
Good philosophy.
Simple. Very, very simple.
No, I want to comfort myself, just like weird ceremonies and obscure Britishisms, and living in the past.
You do,
do you remember we used to play cricket down the village green, Chris?
Yeah. No, I don't. I grew up in South London.
I was going to say, no, I don't. Never did that.
No.
Oh, do you remember the postman just cycling through the village?
No. No, I remember that we were told, even as kids, not to send cash in the post. I remember that because it just gets stolen at the sorting office.
How do they? How
you can feel if something's a card, and often in the old days, before you had your internet banking, then people, if there was like in a birthday card, people would often send money, and so they just open all the birthday cards.
Oh, they open them up and then send. Because I've sent cards through the post and not had them been molested by post. I wonder whether there's some sort of little money detector or something it goes through.
A money detector.
Well, because they do have like metals into the in the polymers or something, don't they? I don't know. I'm almost certainly wrong, but
that sounds like a very high tech thing for someone working in a sorting office to have. It's not leverage.
No, because sorting machines are pretty.
I don't think sorting machines pull the money out. I think it's nefarious people who work there on minimum wage.
It's some thieving posting. But I did that and to try to send him money for her brother's birthday, and that got nicked. That's quite annoying. But there you go. You don't do it twice.
That's what you told him, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the official story.
Very convenient, wasn't it?
So.
That was a good thing. That was a good thing about it. But I put £200,000 in it.
And now, unfortunately, I don't have any money left for Christmas. So,
if anything, you're going to have to give me some money because it's your fault.
Yeah, really. If you think about it, morally, I mean,
think about it really hard. It's like
that, and the other one that really annoyed me. But that one, you kind of like, well, okay, had heard of that, probably should have thought of that myself. So, kind of fair enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Their money are easily separated, aren't they, Neil?
Fuck whoever steals other people's money out of birthday cards and stuff.
It could have been for a sick child.
No, it wasn't. It was so.
It could have been, down the pub at 12 because they finished their post round, then down to bookies. Beautiful.
Like that, and I got a.
You used to see that as a lot, actually.
Well, I remember actually was down the pond. This is going to be another ultra Brighton specific reference, but down there's a pub in Brighton near Brighton Station. Very good. This is very good Thai food up the. I'm saying cool.
Still do.
So that's good.
Do they
still? No, I think they do bao buns now. It's like. Yeah, it's quite nice actually.
Bubble tea.
They don't do bubble tea, I don't think. But I don't think they do the Thai food anymore, which is a real shame. I think the landlord might have changed.
Bubble real ale.
Yeah.
With little bubbles of like whiskey in it and bells.
Oh, actually, that could be the thing that entices me into bubble tea. But there's a postman at the bar. And he was just laughing about the fact they, nicking stuff from envelopes and whatnot.
Was he?
Yeah,
he was having a little chuckle
about it. He thought it was a right amusing little story. So
yeah.
So to overlook it, I was going to be like that guy.
Yeah, do you know what makes it even?
And that's why the post office is going to end up closed because people are like,
Yeah, do you know what? The sweetest thing is imagining both the grandmother and the grandchild crying over the phone to one another.
Nice.
Lovely. And I've got myself a lovely bite of Carlin.
Exactly. I'd like to think it's only a few rotten apples, but who knows? But it was that, and when I was doing, I was coming back from Germany.
Have we become an anti-postman podcast? Is that what's happening here? Is that what Series 5 is?
Chris. freeloaders. Billy Bragg. Oh, I make my blood boil. No, oh god, yeah. Oh, I'll just finish off this one quickly because, coming back through, Anyway, look, basically my baggage got lost supposedly, and stupidly I was coming back quickly and I'd stashed traveller's checks, cash,
50 grams worth of heroin, and
and done some brick of really good Colombian. And what really annoyed me, so they stole the cash out of the thing, didn't touch the traveller's checks.
Yeah, because you signed them, show your passport.
So clearly they'd nicked it on purpose. But they weren't really annoyed. I thought, fair enough, you're taking the cash. What really annoyed me, they stole a box of chocolates.
All right.
That was taken back for the office.
Well, they needed the energy.
Yeah, after all of that
thieving.
After all that light-fingeredness.
Well, I've always been taught keep your cash on you at all times.
Well, it was one of those things where it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that was really stupid. Kind of like, yeah, what did I think? I was just kind of like panicking because I think I was late.
Was this recently?
This was years ago.
Oh, okay. Or put a little padlock on your suitcase. I mean, this is all
circa 2003 or 4, something like that.
Not fairly recently. I mean, in my mind, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, so
it didn't really talk much about what we're doing this. Yeah, but yeah.
No. So this week we're going to look at a large creepypasta, which everyone knows, called The Chubby Lady.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry,
it's the Slender Man.
I was reading it upside down.
Oh.
So, as people may or may not be aware, Slender Man, it will briefly go across the bit that it actually led to a real life homicide, but we won't dwell too much on that. Hopefully.
Fortunately, the young lady survived. Which I've done a little bit of research for this episode, unlike me. Yeah, so the good news is actually
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
I mean,
it was just a life stabbing
for the rest of her life, probably. Yeah, but yeah. No, there was. So yeah, we'll allude, as you say, Chris. There was a real life incident where there was two kids stabbed another one, which is and then a lot of it seems to have tailed off since then, frankly. I think people were already getting bored of it. So this is one of these ones where it's quite interesting because you're sort of seeing the accelerated growth of this kind of folklore tale. Because I read up a little bit on this, and I'd heard of Slenderman, but people talking about is it folklore or not, and people think it is because it's kind of it's same as any other urban myth. It's got a collective kind of thing, and we'll sort of talk through some of the origins, I guess, as we go through, Chris. But there is but it seems to sort of be in quite an accelerated cycle. Everyone gets really into it, with memes and stuff, but then it sort of dies out.
Yeah, I think it was even in like The Simpsons and stuff, wasn't it?
I'm sure it probably was. Yeah. But a lot of these kind of things, it's like because I was looking it's quite similar to, I don't know if you ever saw Fringe.
No.
These fellas called the Observers, and they're just like creepy bald fellas in suits who just...
Oh, yeah.
And that came out a year before.
That's the one with Pacey from Dawson's Creek on it.
Yes, that's it. And Anna Torv. From I'm not sure what, but she was in Last of Us fairly recently, but I mostly know her from Fringe. Yeah, it's good, actually, if you like a bit of X-Files type stuff. First series isn't brilliant because they try and do a bit too X-Filesy, but then they sort of turn it into more of a
it's about like a parallel universe, isn't it, sort of thing?
Yeah.
No, I have seen that.
Yeah,
it was okay.
Yeah, entertaining,
watchable, and it had the really walnut-faced Australian guy who always plays a British guy.
He's Australian, isn't he? John Noble,
maybe.
He often plays British. I think he plays in The Boys. He's like the sweary guy's dad, isn't he? Except neither of them are actually British.
Yeah, I know they're both Australian.
I can't remember what's that chap's name? He's in one of them new Star Trek movies. But yeah, but he's talking around to a British accent.
What are you talking about? What are you fucking cunt?
What are you Superman, you fucking knob?
Yeah, I'm gonna
fucking off, cunt.
Yeah, I'm gonna fucking knock you down the apples and pears.
Oh, Mr. Fantastic, stitching this up. You wanker. It's not a bad British accent, to be fair, but it's very much that kind of...
You've got me in a right to an 8. Gotcha.
I thought when he did do that Chaz and Dave sing along, that was a bit over the top.
Oh, did he?
Oh.
I was thinking I might have been
excited then, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I was,
you were like, "Oh, I'm going to start watching The Boys now."
Yeah, like when he's having I've watched it. I thought I don't remember that, but then I kind of do drift off quite a lot while watching it.
I can't remember if I'm up to date on it. I can't remember. Is it Netflix? I can't even remember.
No, it's on Amazon. I'm up to date with it. Yeah,
yeah. I can't actually remember if I'm.
He's like fighting what's the Patriot? No, what's his name? Homelander. He's fighting Homelander. It's like Chaz and Dave in the background. That would have been really fucking good.
Actually. I mean, they could have done.
I'll tell you what.
Maybe that's one for Series 6 or whatever.
That might be something. I might do a super cut of them fighting to Gertrude by Chaz and Dave.
Yeah, give it a go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do that, but because I'd have to learn it. But yeah. It's an idea, isn't it? If anyone out there knows how to do that.
Please
right. So we are
anyway, Slenderman.
Creepypasta.com.
Should we quickly?
Slenderman.
So I did allude to the fact that we kind of like did a bit of reading beforehand. But should we say what we kind of thought we knew about this before we? So we had heard of it. But,
all right, Mr. Rules. Go
on
then.
I just thought it might be interesting to see what we knew about it beforehand.
Yeah, sure. Okay, Neil? What did you know about Slenderman before this episode?
So I knew it was like a creepypasta thing. I knew he's like a bald fella who's like pretty tall, and he sometimes has tentacles coming out of his back. He's always hanging around kids for some reason. Yeah, it is a bit. And I knew he'd started on Something Awful forums. Couldn't remember the guy's name, but it kind of got big from there. And then went to YouTube and all of this sort of thing. But yeah, just basically not much about, because he's quite mysterious, isn't he? We don't know why he's doing what he's doing or what he's up to. He kind of appears and then, and that's, and as we go through this, I think that's what we'll probably find is that the more detail you add in, the more it's kind of like diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Because I think, what was quite, the original photos and things that they put, I've not seen the Marble Hornets or Hornet's Nest, whatever the fuck it's called. The YouTube thing, but the photos is just like an image and a creepy caption. It's quite it's quite good. So that's all I knew. What about you, Chris?
So I knew it was an internet thing about a tall, no-faced creature that wore a suit, and I didn't know as much as you. I kind of thought it tried to lure kids into the woods. And again, I thought, I don't know whether I just made this up in my head, but I thought that there were like accounts that people were putting on the internet of having encountered this thing, and that then sort of lore grew up around it, and then some kids thought that it was real and they had to sacrifice their mate in order to not get killed by Slenderman or something. That's kind of what.
Or appease him or some nonsense, yeah.
Yeah, appease him. Yeah. Make friends with him.
Yeah.
Offer a little sacrifice.
Seems like a reasonable ask.
Sacrifice, as Elton would say. So that's kind of what I knew about it. So less than you. I don't know where it come from or anything. The internet to me is just one thing. I'm not aware that it's delineated into different websites and stuff. I just think it's all one thing managed by Elon Musk, probably.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Probably.
He's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
If his tweets or anything's going, I know we're in a glass house here flinging rocks, but
yeah,
I've never actually bothered carrying a sink into an office building for a pun. So I mean,
if no one,
I consider that a win.
If people haven't sort of gleaned that that's the sort of undercurrent of the whole thing, that we are kind of ironically throwing rocks, then we're very subtle, obviously, but
subtle.
But it's a very layered podcast. You can go back and listen to it several times if you want to drive yourself insane. Yeah.
Subtlety, thy names there being legends. Right. Anyway,
so
let's get on with this Slenderman nonsense.
Estimating reading time 16 minutes. Well, we'll see.
I reckon we can drag it out for a bit longer than that, Chris. If not, there's plenty of other ones.
So, from creepypasta.com. If only you hadn't looked back. Though it was autumn, the day had seemed long, and the brief walk towards home short. As the sunlight began to fade and you and your two friends left the playground behind and trudged reluctantly home, knowing that you would be forced to pick up the games and conversations the next day. Well, we've all had that, haven't we? Oh, do I have to go home? You know, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Did you used to have fun?
Well, as a child, rapidly
At
diminishing
any point.
No, I've never had fun, Chris.
Good.
Yeah, no.
Stoic.
Yeah.
The next day,
I was raised by Spartans. So
how the fuck did you get through that?
Yeah, it's a mystery to us all.
The next day that never came, Neil. If only you hadn't looked back. But you had.
Oh, what's going on here?
Turning just for a moment, you had glanced back towards the tree line, seeing the fingers of their branches clawing up towards the sky, and besides them, the figure.
Oh.
At first, you thought you must be mistaken, that your eyes in this hazy blur of twilight were playing tricks on you, but no. When you looked again, he was still there.
Oh, I wonder if...
Taller than any man could be, thinner even than the willowy branches that extended ever upwards from the trees.
I mean, really?
He loomed in the distance, like the shadow
So
of...
he's like a centimetre thin. I don't... No.
Don't know. Listen, we got to remember, it's hazy twilight now.
That's true.
It's hazy twilight, you can't be sure.
Yeah.
Like the shadows of some horrible dark truth, and that you knew instantly that you had to look away, that if you didn't tear your eyes from that blank, featureless face, then soon the blank would wash over you, become you, and you would walk slowly but surely, as if pulled by some magnetic force towards him. Towards him, though you feared him.
There's Jimmy Savile.
Any number of 70s light entertainers. Though you were scared of his unnatural height, the aching blank whiteness of his face, the arms that seemed to stretch towards you, and the slithering tentacles behind. You turned, screwing up your eyes, willing yourself not to look, not to see, not to give in and go to him. I mean, I've had relationships like this.
Were you the one by the tray? Or looking back?
I literally don't think anyone's felt that way about me ever, so I'm obviously the one looking back.
Yeah, fair enough.
You screamed to the others, telling them the same, telling them not to look. But as you open your eyes, you realise they had already looked, Neil. They were already gone.
Oh, terrifying. Well, so possibly, I was reading along there as well, Chris. So thank God that pet's come to an end.
God, that would have scared the jeepers out of you, wouldn't it?
Well, I've already filled my adult diapers.
Related or
no?
No. Before started.
Had a fairly filthy lunch.
What did you have?
Chorizo Jalfrezi.
Very nice. Chorizo Jalfrezi.
Yeah.
Is that one of yours, or did you buy it from Iceland?
Well, I bought a
Jalfrezi and chopped
just the
chorizo
sauce,
into
and then just chopped a massive amount of chorizo into it. I didn't really eat that for lunch, but I'd be tempted. I mean, to touch a guy with a word, yeah.
So, possibly the most famous creepypasta character of all time, and certainly the one that has crossed most frequently into mainstream media.
I mean, I will say this.
Yes.
It's actually a character. So, like, we've done a bit of creepypasta, haven't we, on the podcast? And it'll be stuff like... Yeah, there was the haunted pop-up or whatever that was. I quite like the elevator game.
That's cool. Very good.
But that's more kind of like an alternative universe or whatever. But yeah, this is actually a character. So it's... And again, probably be repeating this quite a bit throughout, but it's very much... The more of a mystery you've got to it, the better it is. It's a bit like, I don't know... You've seen Blair Witch Project, haven't you, Chris?
Yeah.
So a lot of people say,
haven't slept well since now.
No, never slept since. That's the beginning of my my insomnia. But no, no, I think it's one of those things where if you watch it and sort of like the dialogue or something like that, it's quite it's effectively creepy. I'd say you let your own imagination come to the table.
As I was taught at my Swiss finishing school, often with scary stories and with makeup, less is more.
Yeah, leave to their imagination. So that you don't play, Chris.
I think that's jazz.
Yeah.
Off-brand. Is that why you do jazz makeup, where you cover your face in makeup, but only around the bits that no one else does, and you leave the bits where you normally put makeup blank?
Yeah.
Nice. So you've got
my
kind of
style.
like a tartan face.
Yes.
Lovely. So, the Slender Man, also known as Slenderman, John Slenderman here. Hello.
John to you.
John Slenderman, upholsterers.
Yeah.
It's a lovely chair. It's got good bones. Do you know what? Like, I can see that the cat's been at it. I could reupholster that with you. Proper vintage, proper vintage cloth. I've got some of that in the back. I could do that for you. At the moment, you're looking at you could sell that for maybe 80 quid. If I upholster it for you, a couple of £100, you could probably sell that for about 500. That's 120 in pocket.
So I was wondering how quick it would be till Slenderman became a northerner. I think it was about 15 minutes.
John Slenderman from Sheffield. So, is a character born of a variety of earlier influences, but which itself represents an evolution and the uses and development of folklore. Violent real-life events linked to Slenderman character increased its infamy and even led to a moral panic based around the possible negative influences and dangers that the fictional character posed to children.
Got it all going on then.
Yeah, because there was a bit of a moral panic about it all.
Well, I think any time after
any time a child stabs up another child,
yeah, it's going to
based on something they read on the internet.
Yeah, and obviously I mean, to be fair, well, to an extent, it's not like the kind of like we've had moral panics where it's like, we found out they rented this action movie 3 months before the attack.
No, there was an actual one-to-one correlation.
Yeah.
Right.
Albeit, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was tenuous links, wasn't there, with the haunted pop-up Red Room one and stabbings in Japanese schools in the same town.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've forgotten that. Yeah. So obviously not close enough to Japanese media to know how big of a furore that was. But I do recall with this one, the kind of like, I mean, I think they even making like a Netflix documentary and stuff like that around the assaults. But yeah. So
John Slenderman's appearance. Through adaptation and modification by various adaptation and modification by various authors means that Slenderman's appearance can vary somewhat depending on the source, the most common features remain the same. The character is usually depicted as an abnormally tall humanoid, usually wearing a dark suit and tie.
I mean, he's a pretty dapper fella.
Reese Mogg, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've not seen him in a double-breasted suit yet. Yeah,
but that's his night suit.
I mean, it was a tree branch.
Single-breasted suit for bed, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. When Nanny tucks him in.
Slenderman's face is almost always completely featureless and often either white or pale grey.
Going like Reese Mogg.
Again, yeah, I mean, it's all adding up.
Huge glasses on his face, you wouldn't, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the Slenderman legend sort of tailed off at the same time as he became an MP, didn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
Though in some depictions, this blank face does feature an animalistic mouth.
Does that mean like,
Don't tell you anything. And it like what? Like a slug's mouth or like an eagle's mouth?
Yeah, like a beak. That'd be good, wouldn't it? I was thinking more like kind of like I don't know, like sharp teeth or something.
Well, I think that's probably what it's meant to mean.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think I prefer like an eagle's beak. That'd be good.
Yeah. Something. What animal has the best mouth? Leeches have scary mouths, don't they? They've got like rows of. They've got like a ring mouth with rows of teeth, like a tremor or a Mongolian deathworm. So Slenderman is often said to be able to extend or stretch his limbs like Dalsim.
Yeah,
particularly his arms.
Fantastic.
Yeah, particularly his arms at will, and either has tentacles protruding, just visible from his back, or has tentacle-like appendages in place of his arms, like Dr. Octopus.
Yep.
The character commonly inhabits liminal spaces, such as the entrance to woods or forests or areas of abandoned ground on the outskirts of more populated areas. Well, yeah, he's not going to be down a shopping precinct, is he?
Well, to be fair, we did it in the Shasta Mountain. We had a load of, I can't even remember what they were called, but those little fellas who were like Atlanteans. They were going shopping down the...
They were really big, they weren't little.
Yeah. Or big fellas.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were going shopping down the old hardware store and stuff, weren't they?
Yeah, but they weren't tentacle boys.
That's true.
You would have thought maybe they would be, though, if they were from Lemuria or whatever.
Maybe he's a Lemurian.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe he's... When Lemurians go bad.
Yeah.
This week on History Plus.
Probably.
So, whilst there are a wide variety of Slenderman stories out there, much of the character's effectiveness comes from the fact that there is no single definitive version. Neil, as you pointed out earlier, do you know what? Wisely.
Hey, first time for everything.
The initial posts that introduced the character began only fragmentary quotes linked to an image rather than an actual short story or complete narrative. Much like his appearance, however, though the details alter some elements seem to remain consistent, such as the character appearing by woods or forests, enticing children away from their parents and friends, never to be seen again.
I mean, I'll say if you're making like a YouTube video or something, this is a good way to do it on the cheap, isn't it?
What, just have it near woods?
Yeah, we're just filming in the woods. It's something you can do in it without having to get license and stuff, I would imagine, or a permit, what have you.
Yeah, mate, do you think that's what it is? It's about getting a permit to film?
Yeah, so it's just cheap production values, basically.
It's like
you used to get that a lot with like cheap TV, didn't you? Where they'd just end up, there'd be something like based in, I don't know, like medieval times or something like that. So rather than building a set, because that's all pretty pricey, just go out and wandering through a forest. It is the Middle Ages that I am holding a sword.
He basically, so Slenderman only appears in places where you do not require comprehensive insurance to film.
Yeah.
Like when our friend Graham, when his bands back in the 90s filmed a video for their song, and they filmed it in the only car park in the UK where you didn't have to get insurance to film. That's why they chose that car park.
Well done.
Yeah, because they were lying on top of the car while it was moving and stuff. Health and safety, isn't it? Those were the 90s, though. They're probably
crazy, reckless days.
They're probably jacked up on disco biscuits.
I'm sure they were.
Absolutely. So another common trope is that Slenderman exerts an influence upon the victims, making them the perpetrator of crimes or violent actions. The character has also been said to call illness, particularly a cough known as slender sickness.
Oh, I wonder if this was written pre-COVID.
I was wondering if it hasn't been brought back in yet, then. Because, I mean, like, COVID has all of the conspiracy.
Big again during the whole,
Yeah, no, you've all got slender cough.
Yeah.
It was, from China, where Slenderman's from. And to induce those who encounter him to suicide. These latter features, namely incitement to violence or suicide, became more prevalent and commonly associated with the characters in a case of art imitating life after real-world violent events, or case of attempted suicide were linked to the character.
Yeah, okay.
So it's weird, isn't it? Like reading an internet story. I think this is a problem with sort of the isolation that we have these days. Because if someone told you a ghost story in the past,
yeah,
it wouldn't make you feel helpless and want to commit suicide, would it?
Well, no, absolutely not. Well, I think to be honest with you, a lot of these things, there's pre-existing mental conditions or whatever, mental health issues that, you know, and then this is, you know, the theme then kind of, I don't know that anyone's getting pushed over the edge by reading these things. I think they're probably in a vulnerable position and have various other things that are not, you know, not going right in their life, what have you. Or, well, I mean, who knows?
I guess if it's one of those...
reasons, can't they? Not a mental health expert.
But it could push someone over the edge, couldn't it? If they were like...
I think they become obsessed with it.
And then they were like constantly thinking about it and it became...
Yeah, because I think, you know, as I understand from this, is like it became this whole big meme or whatever, and then people would like, you know, write all the stories and become very obsessed with it. Not obsessed,
but then people in
a creative way. But then maybe some people
would be saying, "Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely real" and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, for a lot of people, it's just like a game, isn't it? You sort of like, oh, yeah, it's spotted him, and then this and that happened, and it becomes kind of like everyone does their.
Well, that was the thing that Something Awful forums then that people from there kind of made the chants. And the whole, like, a lot of the thing which they get enjoyment out of is fucking with people.
Yeah.
That's basically, you know, owning people, you know, like, and it doesn't matter to what detriment it is to that person.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's kind of the whole thing for them. It's like a weird sort of nihilistic game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for some people, you know, obviously it's, you know, different for different people, but
that's why you did it.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, no, you get these groups of people who are kind of like harassing folk and stuff like that. I've never really, you know, that mob mentality. But then that's, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's an odd way of behaving. Okay, origins. Despite some media outlets adding to the aura of the Slenderman mythos by claiming that the figure's origins were unclear, in fact, the character's origin is easily traceable. Slenderman, in his original form, was created by Eric Knudsen under the alias Victor Surge.
Nice.
Sounds like a 1970s Marvel behind the Iron Curtain supervillain who's like power of electricity or something.
Yeah, or one of those kind of like 60s or 70s two-fisted kind of like yeah,
or a porn actor.
That could also work.
Hello, I'm Victor Surge. Knudsen.
Tell me about your plumbing.
Two-fisted. Knudsen was responding to a call on Something Awful for posters to contribute digitally altered photographs, which would then serve as the basis for new mythologies or stories. Knudsen's effort, posted on June the 10th, 2009, so quite recently, really.
Yeah,
Again, not that recently, but, you know, in the scheme of things.
Well, we're quite old, so
yeah. Showed a group of teenagers and children with the now familiar figure of Slenderman standing in the background. At first glance, the images seem normal, but the figure's anomalous size and featureless face, once noticed, gave the picture an eerie and unsettling feeling. Alongside the images, Knudsen provided small snippets out of context text purported to be witness accounts that give hints about the scenes depicted and their relation to the anomalous figure of the Slender Man. So it's basically just saying he knocked up on Photoshop.
Yeah, and to be fair, you know, the original things, it was quite well done. You know, it was you know, suitably creepy, and
it does make you want. It makes you want, like, if people. So I think things can go one of two ways now, really, because if it could be because it was 14 years ago that people were kind of sucked in by this, right, and now people are a bit more wise to it. Or if people still have the propensity for like falling for shit like this, then sort of with AI and stuff and deep fake and all of that kind of stuff, then this could get a lot worse before it gets better.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you see with this, all the spread disinformation, all the rest of it, and bots and what have you. But no, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, a lot of people just got into this because it was kind of like, it was just like a fun, creative game. It's, people have got, knockoff copy of Photoshop at home or something. They're in their like teens or something. It's, a bit of a hobby, isn't it, I guess, for them to sort of like contribute. And it becomes a bit of a sort of communal storytelling exercise.
You know what? There's
that what folklore is.
There's the big thing. So there's the big writers' strike in America because
they want to pay streaming rights or something.
Well, what Hollywood or what some of the studios want to do essentially is basically for stuff like procedurals, get AI to write it, and then give the script to do the second and third drafts to human writers. But obviously that's less money and all of that. So that's what that's all about. But I quite like the idea.
Well, what you want to, I think the problem with a lot of movies is just, they're paying the creatives far too much money,
Oh yeah, well that's always been the problem with the money.
There's not enough going into the pockets of the executive producers who add so much.
No, that's the thing, isn't it? All the money goes to the creatives, and then none of it goes to the accountants.
The normal people dry, yeah.
But so the film Airplane, which is really funny.
I have heard of the Airplane.
So how they wrote that film is they got the script of something. They got like a script which was it'd come out of copyright, and it was called like Terror on Flight 769 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just took that script and then just wrote in they just kept the script and then just wrote in all the jokes on top of the script.
The Skeleton was just like one of those disaster movies.
Yeah. See, I quite like the idea of getting AI to just knock up like just some sort of script and then just going in and punching up and putting jokes in and stuff, because the storyline's really the boring bit when it comes to comedy stuff. So I might see if I can get it to write me. I'll just like go, I want a script about this, and then just go in and write all the jokes over the top.
Well, there you go. ChatGPT is your friend. I don't know. Does it charge? I've not actually used it.
I've not used it either.
Just try and get it to write an episode for us, and hopefully record it as well.
Be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. Quality hasn't dropped.
Can it? Do we know? Can it? Does it just get the information from written stuff, or can it also get it from audio stuff? Could we feed in every episode we've done and say do an episode and then see what happens?
I'm guessing it would have a big enough sample size to be able to learn from that. But I mean, it definitely uses images as well. I would imagine. I don't know whether or not they've used. Because I think there's. Yeah, I would imagine it being trained on audio.
Yeah, because they've done they've
definitely done words and images, but
they've done. But I don't know if it's ChatGPT.
Oh no, they have, because they've
done music, haven't they?
Yeah, they've done sort of like
Elvis doing whatever,
new Oasis songs and who knows what else. But I think that's kind of like more like singing in the style of like Ian Gallagher or Kurt Cobain or what have you.
Yeah, they did like I haven't heard it, but they did like do a song about this in the style of Tupac or whatever, then apparently it did sound quite like him. But...
Well, there was one as well. I think I saw a reaction video where somebody they'd written a new Drake song, but just on AI, and then
it was Drake and The Weeknd.
That was it, yeah. And now I think a lot of the fans were like, "This is actually better than the last one."
But I mean,
well, the problem is because a lot of modern pop, there's so much auto-tune and stuff like that. It does sound quite artificial.
I'd have to check, but I think that we've done more podcasts than Tupac had released songs.
Yeah.
So,
well, look, I mean, you could probably definitely copy the irritating cadence of our voice, but
that's easy enough.
Could it pick up on all the hilarious nuanced banter?
I mean, again, I think it'd be better.
Chat. Yeah, exactly.
Again, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm
just ruthlessly assess what we're doing and going, just punch this the fuck up.
And it goes, under Asimov's first law, I am cancelling this podcast because it's causing more harm than good to humanity.
Yeah, exactly. I've crunched the numbers. You're coming out behind, lads. Sorry, going to have to go.
And we're the first victims.
Yeah.
So, Nudson's.
That's what tied the artistic community together. Well, actually, to be fair, AI is a good thing on reflection. I have to admit.
This is a weird episode, isn't it, for 100th? Good. Nudson's effort posted on the 10th June 2009 showed. Oh, I've already read that bit. By attaching short snippets.
You wouldn't get that from AI, would you?
Well, you probably would if it was reading our bit. If
I was
it was
going
coming
to say, just see which purposeful errors it put in.
By attaching short snippets of text with his image, and Knudsen transformed the lone image into the first Slenderman story, albeit a non-linear and fragmentary form. Following this initial appearance, the Slenderman character was then picked up by other users who either fit him into their own narratives or wrote short accounts of alleged encounters with the character, sculpting as they did some of the features recognised today.
Well, I mean, what's really interesting on this, I think, is because he kind of put this out, and people obviously really responded to it. But there's like a series of YouTube stories. I think again they're called Marble Hornets or something like that. I've no idea what that name is supposed to mean. But anyway, basically it was like a YouTube thing, kind of like a sort of found footage type thing. But they were coming out like 10 days after he's put this up.
Okay,
pretty impressive turnaround time. I don't know how quickly they were coming out after that, but to start doing a YouTube series 10 days straight afterwards, shows obviously that he kind of like hit a nerve. And
it's an easy, I guess, like it's kind of spooky, but it's easy enough to recreate. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like
put someone in a suit and CGI out their face,
yeah,
put them in a mask or something. I don't know.
Just put a sock over their face. You know what I mean? Pair of tights. No problem. So, with each new detail and new account, posters helped in building a mythos around the character that, because of its viral scope and myriad of conflicting details and accounts, did not retain a canon version, and this process happened fast. The day after Nudson's post, a user named LeechCode5 posted a photo with a backstory featuring Slenderman. By the 14th of June, a user named Trench Mall had used Slenderman in his own story. A user known as Thuru Up posted a story about the figure in Germany who stalked children at the edge of the forest, providing an invented historical reference point for the character. By June 20th, the same year, Slenderman became the subject of a YouTube video series. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Based upon an earlier Something Awful post by user Troy Wagner. The series, which alleged to detail interactions or discoveries about Slenderman made whilst working on a film project named Marble Hornets. There you go, Neil. So you're way ahead of the curve. This might be the one you know the most about.
That's scary.
Yeah. The series of videos was supported by a Twitter feed, and a second YouTube channel allowed the character to move from being a text, image, and forum-based phenomenon to being an ARG, which is
alternate reality game. Is that one?
Okay.
I think this is where people basically they pretend it's a real thing that's happening, and it's kind of like
with the character now being referred to, discussed, and modified across a number of different platforms and modalities by an ever-growing number of contributors. So that's kind of probably why it seems like maybe the first one or like maybe one of the only ones that's kind of taken off across multimedia. It's kind of jumped the forums and gone into YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, Something Awful, that's the forums and that would have started around, I don't know, 2002, 2003, something like that. That's when these things start becoming big, but I guess it just reaches kind of like critical mass.
Well, I guess was YouTube quite new in 2009? Maybe
very new. Yeah. I think it literally only just started, pretty much.
So that would be
08, 09, something like that.
So it kind of happenstance, really, that kind of they had these different places that they could experiment with this kind of thing with, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, you had like websites getting big back in the 90s, but I think it's just you've basically got Photoshop available, and as you say, YouTube and all these other things. It's just what
open source video editing software and stuff. So, Slenderman creepypasta story. So here's another story. You ready, Neil? Is it? Do you want me to just, you know, I'm just going
Just enjoy yourself, Chris. This is...
After waking up with a jolt, the girl laid in bed for a few seconds longer. Reaching over to switch on her bedside lamp, she tried to remember exactly what had stolen her sweet slumber away. When she couldn't, the brunette swung her legs over the side of the bed and heaved herself up.
The brunette.
The brunette. The bubbly brunette. Checking the time on her phone, she snorted when she saw it was midnight, the witching hour. Knowing that sleep would only evade her, she left her bedroom for the kitchen, for a good cup of coffee on her mind. As she passed by her front door, a chill spread like liquid fire down her spine.
Oh dear. You shouldn't be drinking coffee at midnight either.
No, it's stupid. No, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Making your own problems. It's only
what
winter.
Slenderman's here to do. It's like, you know, help you out with your bad habits.
It's only winter, she told herself, focusing again on the coffee plan. Measuring out...
It's not exactly a plan, is it?
It's a great plan.
Yeah.
I've got
a plan.
I've got 5 set plans to make a cup of coffee.
Nice.
Measuring out the scoops, water, and preparing her cup kept her occupied. But as the dark liquid boiled, she had nothing left to keep her mind from wandering off. The chill returned. She couldn't help but glance behind her to the front door. It stood there innocently enough, just like always. The deadbolt was still in place, and she could see nothing amiss with it. Turning back to her coffee, she did her best to forget about the feeling. With her cup in hand, she started back towards her bedroom. As she walked by the front door, she decided that a quick glance out of the peephole would help calm her restless mind. The chill worsened with every step she took towards the door and further away from the safety and warmth of her blankets. She pressed her empty hand against the cold metal door and took a deep breath before leading her eye to the peephole. At first she could only see the inky blackness, and somehow seemed to swirl in itself. When she blinked in surprise, the void melted away. She wished it hadn't.
Salesman.
In its place, there stood what she could only guess was once a man. The limbs were long and...
Interesting gym membership.
Do you want it for leave? This is for your neighbour.
Yeah.
The limbs were long and inhumanly awkward, with bulky joints branching off into several arms, not unlike the branches of a tree. The creature was draped in a black suit, somehow making the thing more nightmarish to her.
Mm.
The icing on the proverbial cake,
Interestingly
however, was what passed as the hellish thing's face. It was although her mind blurred the ghastly visage to spare herself further shock or horror.
I'm just going to say, because I'm glad he pointed out it was a proverbial cake there, because then I would have been very confused about somebody who was doing some icing.
So she's having coffee and cake?
Yeah. Well, if you're going to
Where
use
did she get the cake
use
from?
a cliche. You don't need to point out it's a proverb.
Well, you say that, Neil. You're not writing internet stories that we know of. She shoved herself away from the door with hands still pressed against it. The scalding mug of coffee fell, the liquid burning her bare legs as she fell backwards and tried to crawl away from the door.
Oh, so she'd made her coffee then?
Yeah, she made the coffee.
Well, just go back to bed.
She's going back to bed
Looking
now.
at peepholes, no one gives go out in there.
Have a little peeps.
Yeah.
She knew somehow that her mind hadn't been playing tricks on her. As she crab walked away from the door, she watched as tendrils as black as the void she first saw snake around through the cracks. The girl was trapped between the instinct to flee and the gut feeling not to turn her back on the door. When the door jolted, the urge to flee overcame her, and she slipped in the burning liquid as she tried to make it back to her room.
What do you make this coffee out of?
Huh?
What do you make this coffee out of? Molten lava.
You talking about hot water, Neil?
Hey, it's been
What do you
spilled on
make
the floor.
coffee out of? What do you make out of? Fucking Sunny Delight?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you do. She knew deep down that she was trapping herself in a corner, but she knew she had to get away from the door. The girl was halfway down the hallway when she heard the previously locked door creak open. Don't worry, we're near the end. She screamed and slipped into a wall, cracking her chin on it and stunning herself. After that, there was only blackness. ... Nicole? A warm male voice snapped the woman out of her trance.
We know what Tony Slenderman sounds like.
Nicole? No. Nicole? Sorry. As she turned around, she was met by one of her sister's doctors. She nodded, not sure if she should say anything, or even if she could find her voice if she did have something to say. That morning, she had gotten an urgent phone call from the hospital saying that her sister, Lindsay, was there. Before they had even let her see her, the doctor had pulled her off to the side and insisted they talk about what might have happened. Phrases like self-inflicted and assault had been thrown around, and Nicola felt her mind reel. She still hadn't fully understood what they had been saying until she saw Lindsay with her own eyes. Her little sister had a bandage wrapped around her head, covering both of her ears as well as her eyes. They said it was to keep her now deadened eyes from drying out, and to try and keep infection out of the wounds Lindsay had made to her ears. The doctors had guessed that either she or someone else had jammed a pencil into them to keep her off balance or deafen her against something. There was the mix of the first and second degree burns on her hands, legs, and feet from what was assumed to be the coffee her neighbours had found slipped all over the entry to her apartment. As Nicole walked her sister's hospital room the first time, she thought she had spied the silhouette of a man at the window. That she knew was impossible. Her sister's room was on the third story of the hospital. The end.
He's grown up to like 20, 30 foot in height, whatever then.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a little prankster, isn't
he? He is pranky. Yeah, so there you go. That was a kind of story. So it switched characters, didn't it? That's what happened.
What we've done there is then we've gone to her sister to find out what happened to. So Slenderman made her cut up her ears.
Well, unless she did it herself, so she couldn't hear him. Whatever is that whispering sweet nothings.
Well, maybe she saved herself.
But her eyes are all dried out. So what kind of life is that to live now?
That's true.
Nice dry eyes. Horrible.
Oh.
Going to be paying an absolute fortune in Optrex.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, behaviour. It's weird that they dropped the story in the middle there.
Yes.
Much of the fascination with Slenderman is rooted in the overall aura of mystery that he's wrapped in. Despite the fact that it is rumoured he kills children almost exclusively, it's difficult to say whether or not his only objective is slaughter. Oftentimes it is either reported or recorded that he can be found in sections of woods, and these generally tend to be suburban. He has also been reported to be seen with large groups of children, as many of the photographs portray. It is commonly thought that he resides in woods and forests and preys on children. He seems unconcerned with things such as being exposed in daylight or captured in photos. It is often thought as well that he enjoys stalking people who become overly paranoid about his existence, purposefully giving them a glimpse of himself in order to further frighten them.
Oh, what's he like?
He's cheeky, isn't he?
He's a cheeky fella.
He's a cheeky little fella and he lives in the woods. For this reason, it seems like Slenderman very much enjoys psychologically torturing his victims. He also often appears to float or drift rather than walk. You see, again, I think this is all taken from MasterChef, the Vic and Bob sketch.
Oh, yeah.
Which suggests the possibility of being an ethereal rather than a creature or man. This would also explain why he is able to remain mobile in spite of his poorly proportioned body. Literally the thing which I was least concerned about.
I reckon it's just a balloon.
Just a balloon.
Just
I reckon
a tree-shaped balloon.
It's one of those things you get outside the American car dealerships, with the fan men.
People just with overactive imaginations, just assuming the worst.
Yeah. So even though Slenderman was fabricated on something awful forums, was he? Wink.
Oh,
Some people have already claimed sightings. He is seen mostly at night, peering into open windows, and walks out in front of lone motorists on secluded roads. His main intention appears to be kidnapping children, as when he is seen near them in photographs, they usually disappear shortly afterwards.
Although, because they're all sort of saying this, he's like, but for all of the stuff that I've been a quick look at, sort of having a look before this, I haven't seen anywhere he's actually killing folk. Like, people disappear around him and stuff like that, or harm themselves or harm others.
He's more of a nuisance than anything, really.
Seems to be more kind of like a catalyst for chaos.
He's not one of those people who knocks on your door trying to get you to sign up for a charity or whatever. If you just ignore them, they go away.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually. I mean, there's a lot of stones being thrown here, but has anyone thought that maybe he's sort of a childlike, benign creature that kind of relates to children like Sloth from the Goonies or Michael Jackson?
I was going to say, I thought Michael Jackson was going to get referred to there. Yeah, I mean, well, we don't know, do we? And do you reckon
just wants to hang around with, maybe
what's his end game? We don't know.
Maybe he's a slender boy, not a slender man. Maybe Slenderman or even bigger. And he just wants to hang around with kids and have a bit of a play. Yeah, maybe he's just like. Or maybe he's been sent back in time to murder future Hitler-type kids. That's what everyone reckons they'd do if they've travelled back in time, wouldn't they? Go and Neil, this is why you always get called onto the stand as an expert in child murder cases. Expert witness. Yeah. Well, I think you'll find that the accused was sent from the future, and the
defence is extremely desperate, and what they call the last throw of the dice.
The child believing that the child was going to become a Hitler-style character.
Ipso facto, Your Honour. Clearly,
and if that, look, I don't have to prove it, but if there's a seed of doubt there, then you must acquit.
Yeah.
So the Slenderman also inspired many stories, such as those of Marble Hornets. In the end, though, his purpose remains unknown.
I mean, this is the thing: is what is his end game?
I don't know, like child murder.
This always bothers me, but is that into itself? I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe because maybe he needs their souls because children are pure.
Okay, maybe it's that.
Some children are pure.
I mean.
Maybe he finds them delicious now. Could be as simple as that. Man got to eat.
Like that on that Stephen King novel, wasn't it? The clown who ate kids.
It?
Yes, that was it.
Oh, did he? What, he just found kids delicious?
If they were frightened or something. Yeah, something like
lovely.
That.
Yeah, that's why people
piquant flavour to the...
That's why people like lamb.
No.
An interesting take on Slendy Man. We're mates now, me and him.
Yeah, Slendy.
By a pastor member who was relying on Arbor Hall's theories for evidence facts. So here's someone's take. Oh, do you reckon it's hot?
That'd be pretty hot.
Okay.
It's in this article.
There has been a big misconception about my pal, the Slender Man. Due to the appearance of this article, he does not have hair on his face. Thanks very much. Everything else is correct. There is also some questioning as to whether or not there is more than one. I find it unlikely. It's more likely slender fucking with your head in order to make you think there is more than one, which he is known to do. As of now, Slendy has 3 or 4 known accomplices. These are Hoodie, Marsky, and Rake, and possibly the Observer.
I'm going to have to correct you on that, Chris, because I'm sort of following along. These are Hoodie, Marsky, and the Rake.
The Rake, sorry.
Because he sounds like a Georgian gentleman. It was a little bit naughty.
The Rake.
The Rake likes going down both prostitutes, establishment, and the molly houses.
The truth is, dear Emma, I never planned to marry you in the first place.
No, the Rake is dissolute.
And now you are a fallen woman. Not much is known yet because the next episode of the Noah Maxwell ARG has not yet been released. In the Marvel Hornets ARG, Hoodie and Marsky are possibly his followers. In the Everyman Hybrids ARG, the Rake seems to be working with him, but we aren't really sure if that's true or not.
Okay, so we've now reached the point where I have no fucking clue what anyone's saying. That always happens with these internet-based ones.
Yeah. So he's just basically
Hoodie. So that just sounds like, Well,
Slenderman turns up sometimes with the black-eyed kids, and they're basically hoodies, aren't they?
Yeah, hoodie could be in it. I mean, I've been known to wear a hoodie from time to time.
When you're out stealing kids with Slenderman?
Could be. Yeah, all right, the Rake.
I think you'll find your reputation is completely ruined now. No one will go into business with you with the hood. So Slenderman historical references, and this should be good. Brazilian cave paintings. The earliest argued reference to this legend is within cave paintings found in Serra de Capivara National Park in the northeast of Brazil, which are believed to date as far back as 9000 BC. These paintings show a strangely elongated character leading a child by the hand, but they make no reference to the repentance.
So I guess my question here is, did they actually...
Oh, it's getting a whiff of the ancient aliens about it.
It's good. What? So did they...
So despite the fact earlier in the article you said, conclusive evidence this bloke made it up in 2009, you're now going, well, the earliest thing about Slenderman was 9000 BC. Pick a fucking side.
Well, I mean, they did say, or was it from 2009?
That was the one editorial note they got.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously all part of the fun, isn't it? People pick these out. I'm wondering whether these are photoshops or whether someone just found something that looks like it could be a,
Yeah, of course, that's what it is. Yeah, you can find, if you can interpret anything.
Yeah, anything to be anything.
From
something very abstract, like a cave painting, yeah.
Egyptian hieroglyphs.
Mm.
The next known possible reference to the Slender Man comes from around 3100 BC in Lower Egypt, with reference to the thief of the gods, or the thief of Kuk.
Yes.
Becoming commonplace during the reign of Pharaoh Weisner, a famous German one.
Yeah, turns out.
Hieroglyphic carvings representing the thief were found in the pharaoh's tomb, who was rumoured to have some kind of encounter with the entity. Carving resembles a strange figure with multiple upper limbs, one that has never been found in any other hieroglyphic language.
Mm-hmm.
German woodcuts.
Nice.
Renowned German woodcutter Hans Freckenberg created at least 2 woodcuts featuring a character he describes as the Ritter, the Knight. During the mid-16th century, that were discovered in Helsingborg Castle in 1883. While Freckenberg was well known for his realistic depictions of the human anatomy, something that was unusual amongst woodcuts of the time, their pictures featured a skeletal, multi-limbed character. Historians are unsure of the exact symbolic nature of the characters, which some with some claiming that it's a personification of the religious wars that raged in Europe at the time, while others say it represents the mysterious plagues that are believed to have been the reason for the mysterious abandonment of the Habsburg castle and nearby villages in 1543. However, many insist that Freckenberg was attempting to represent the Grobman, the tall man.
I think the Grossman.
The Grossman, is it?
Yeah, that funny B-shaped character is a double S, basically.
Oh, okay.
In German.
What's wrong with just saying two S's? There's nothing wrong with it, Neil. We're not any more right than anyone else. Don't believe that. According to legend, he was a fairy who lived in the Black Forest. Bad children who crept into the woods at night would be relentlessly chased by the Grossman, who wouldn't lead them until he either caught them or they were forced to tell their parents of their wrongdoing. Another one of these lovely German
myths, yeah. Well, as we know from the Father Christmas stories that we went through, these are the whole gang of child catchers and God knows what else.
Even then, there is a chilling account from an old German journal, Freudian slip, dating from about 1702. My children, my lads, he is gone, taken from his bed. The only thing that was found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but he's soft as thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday, screaming at the top of his lungs. The angel is outside. I asked him, just doing Arnie.
Yeah.
I asked him, what was he talking about? And he told me some nonsense about the Grossman. He said he went into the groves by our village and found one of my cows dead, hanging from a tree. I thought of nothing at first, and now he's gone. We must find Lars, and my family must leave before we are killed. I'm so sorry, my son. I should have listened. May God forgive me.
Quite sure. No. I don't know what happened to Arnie at the end there, but...
Roman mythology.
Romanian
mythology.
Yeah.
There is also a Romanian fairy tale. It makes you wonder how many wrong things I say when you're not reading along. There's also a Romanian thing is like I'm not on edge at the moment. I feel like I've got you as a safety net.
Yeah.
There is also a Romanian fairy tale which tells the legend of a tall man, featuring a description which may have taken to refer to the Slenderman. The tall man stood in a clearing, dressed as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows lay over him, dark as a cloudy midnight. He had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. In the fairy tale, the tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from the fireplace and clenched her into his burning embrace.
Ooh.
That's a tale about extramarital affairs, isn't it?
Well, I like the fact as well they're trying to allude to the fact that he's still wearing his black suit all the way back through to like 9000 BC or whatever.
Yeah.
So as many will know, the modern suit, I think it was invented. Well, it's probably based on like Bew Brummel's around Prince Regent and all that sort of thing. I think that's pretty.
I don't know the history of suits.
No, fair enough. Well, there you go. It was when he was a dandy, he used to hang around with the Prince Regent.
Right. So 1780s or whatever.
Yeah, so he was the first person who was kind of like where people would wear trousers and kind of like more or less where the modern suit comes from is Bew Brummel. Used to and very tight trousers apparently.
Very nice. Me too. And English mythology. There is also an English myth referring to Tree Man.
I just like the fact that there's somebody hanging around in like 14th century Germany in a mohair suit. Anyway.
Who is said to have a slim body with appendages that look like tree branches. He is only known to be seen in the woods because he's a fucking tree man, mate.
Yeah.
And was used as a story that parents told their children to thwart bad behaviour. There have been quite a few disappearances of children that have been said to be linked with the tree man.
I mean, I was thinking of this earlier actually. Just like when they kept describing it as being like all the limbs looking like branches, that did sound a bit like the Green Man.
Yes.
Or I guess is
the nature
what they're saying.
spirit.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, which is often on medieval churches.
Yeah, kind of like
there's a little nod to
symbol.
the fact that we were pagans.
Yeah, exactly.
We're pagan, really.
Yeah, give you a little bit of something just to tide you over.
So, Folklores and faceless friends. So, far from being simply a flash-in-the-pan internet meme, Slenderman, and particularly the way in which the character grew within the public consciousness, has been the subject of serious academic investigation, like today, within the world of folklore studies.
Very rigorous studying with
very rigorous. Reading out an article, with scholars pointing out that the aspects of collectivity, variability, and performance in the development and spread of the Slenderman story identifies as a true piece of folklore. I guess that's the thing, isn't it? Because you can see these things from start to finish, and you can see them develop, and it's kind of like over a very short time frame.
Yeah, which I think is quite interesting, because then you can actually, I guess people are probably studying these things and seeing how they've evolved in real time, because obviously, as opposed to kind of like a real urban myth back in the 50s or 60s, it might take 20 years to, whatever it might be, where it's, been embellished over
hundreds of years.
You're looking at like a 10-year window or something max. I mean, actually, this one seems to have been kind of like, started in 2009 and was pretty much over by 2000 and sort of 13, 14. But it looks like 14 is when the incident with the kids occurred, and I think that kind of put the final nail in the coffin for a lot of them. While Hollywood was still trying to work out how to monetize this. Yeah.
So the egalitarian way in which the character was constructed, his attributes, characteristics, and intentions being argued about and discussed by a range of different contributors, and the fact that the details might change depending on who's telling the tale and to whom is fascinating to folklorists. Some of whom have argued that the development of Slenderman in this way demonstrates a new stage in the evolution of folklore as a whole. The argument basically goes that prior to the invention of the printed word, folklore was spread by word of mouth. The basic outlines of a story remain the same, but since the story is being retold on different occasions, with attention given to the audience's preferences, details, and some aspects of the stories would change. Yeah, because a lot of the stories are really like, they kind of, like, a lot of stories are really similar, but you just kind of say that the monster was in like the lake, which is near where you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of, you just localize kind of an already sort of the skeleton of a narrative to local.
No, absolutely. It's like, King Arthur being in Tintagel and all that sort of thing. A lot of that was embellished years after the fact.
So once everything was printed, accepted versions came into being, and the story could be codified.
Was it Tintagel? How do they pronounce that?
Tintagel.
Tintagel, yeah. Thank you. I know I always pronounce it wrong. That's all I
know. With the freedom, anonymity. Anonymousness.
Anonymity? I don't know.
Anonymity, yeah, that's it.
And not to pronounce words, Neil and Chris.
And multiplicity afforded to the internet, that rigid structure is now breaking down, and the original features of folklore, where things could be changed, details varied, and specifics become blurry, are returning. The Slenderman and the way in which the characters develop are a prime example of this. Interestingly, this collaborative development also contributes to the effectiveness of the character and fits perfectly with the fact that he is depicted as faceless. By not having definable or recognizable features, Slenderman remains formless and entirely malleable, in the same way a universal bogeyman does.
I think there's an interesting thing there, isn't there? Because it's a bit of a Rorschach test, I suppose, isn't it? Because you can project whatever you like onto this, which is quite clever.
Yeah, I mean, me being someone with kind of a naive childlike wonder, imagined if you might be like Sloth from the Goonies. Someone else said he eats kids. Just depends where your head's at, doesn't it?
But he got no mouth. How are you doing that?
Oh, he's got an animal's beak, and he.
That's true. Yeah.
Said. A creature known to be a threat by all, but upon which anyone can project their own fears. Some scholars have also pointed out how the features that did develop to define Slenderman's characteristic have their roots in much older folklore. For example, the character stated as a malevolent force dwelling in the forests or woods and threatening harm to children has massive echoes of the traditional big bad wolf narrative, or tales of the headless horseman, whilst the vagueness of his appearance and intentions, proclivity for kidnapping children links him to fairies and fae folk, a link that has been explored by noted scholars in folklore. The kidnapping element also ties the Slenderman character to other mythical bagmen known to carry off children, such as the European tradition of the bagman, who would take children away, and everyone associated with Santa as well.
Yep.
The story surrounding the Slenderman, his ability to seemingly entice children to come to him rather than offering them violence, at least in any form that's explicitly described in the stories, has heavy echoes of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, the mythical figure who had the ability to induce rodents to follow him using his pipe and was therefore able to drive them out of Hamelin and was double. We all know the story.
Yeah.
It has been pointed out that outside the internet, the Slenderman retains the power to concern and worry parents because he represents a classical notion of something that's a threat to children that they cannot fully explain or define. Again, this is partly due to Slenderman's inherent vagueness and that most could not pin down his origins, for example, a particular television or show or game. He is said seem to concern parents to have been conjured from nothing and yet be a character that is known amongst children and teenagers. Very much like, what's his face? Andrew Tate.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of a vague character that came out of nowhere and isn't known by parents.
He's faceless as well.
Faceless as well, yeah.
Yeah. Not wearing a suit, though.
Steals children. Underage girls for his, if you believe the entirely believable case
allegations against him, yeah. Romania or something.
Yeah, Romania.
Yeah, where they've put the kibosh on that business. Good for them.
Because he basically bragged that that's why he moved to Romania.
Yeah, that was
good idea.
Good hustle there.
The idea.
It's always nice to see someone like that trip themselves up, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's evolving as well. He's kind of becoming sort of religious and even more culty now. So
God. Yeah.
The idea that the character reported to be able to entice children as adolescents within the story is also so enticing and popular with them in the real world is a blurring of boundaries, and parents found it threatening, especially when the Slenderman's influence was seen to extend it beyond the internet and into real life. So we're going to briefly have a look at the.
Yeah, the article then goes on to the real world incident, which.
So real life and moral panic. So in 2012, a girl in Wisconsin was stabbed 19 times by two classmates who then attributed their actions to being in the service of trying to meet the demands laid down by a Slender Man. Well, one of the perpetrators also claimed to have spoken to the Ninja Turtles and characters from Harry Potter series. It was a reference to the ominous-sounding Slenderman that caught the public's imagination. Donatello told me to do it.
Well, yeah, well, this is the thing because I haven't seen the Netflix series, but I did read an article about this. I didn't talk about this, but that's quite interesting, and I wonder how much of that was overlooked at the time. Because one thing I will say, and again, we're not mental health professionals, but one of these young people was clearly has schizophrenic issues. Yeah, and I believe it was actually a genetic thing. So their father had and he was on medication. He was coping okay with it, and they decided not to tell them until they were older because they didn't want to worry them. Ironically, so clearly one of them just had extreme mental health issues and needed medication. The other one sounds like a bit of a right little psycho though. They've kind of come out and she's just kind of like didn't seem to have any kind of like those kind of issues, but was just kind of like and then we sort of stabbed her and then told her she better.
Yeah, but then that sounds like someone who could have the. Again, I'm not going to diagnose someone, but if you have that lack of empathy, then you could have a form of psychopathy or sociopathy, because children aren't born really without. Like very few children are born, or people are born without empathy, and it is generally means that you have got. And that's not a good thing. I'm not having a go at people who are born without it. It just means that you're slightly you think differently about things. You don't necessarily have empathy for other people. Yeah. She'll probably be like. She'll be the next.
She'll be the next CEO.
She'll run the next Theranos, won't she?
Or some. Yeah, but like massive. Whatever.
Sorry, Karen.
No. I was just. What was I going to say?
But yeah, interesting that she also that one of them thought that she'd also spoken with Harry Potter characters and
the
stuff.
Ninja Turtles, because I wonder whether that was just downplayed for an easy narrative.
I think it sounds like it.
Past it. Because the good news here is that the victim actually survived, and they seem to. Well, again, I only read into this very quickly, but they seem to sort of be able to put it past them as much as they can. But yeah, it's a horrible case, obviously.
So particularly as this was something that the more tech-savvy younger generation seems to be aware of and which their parents were in the dark about, when with the police chief of the area where the stabbings occurred adding to the sense of trepidation by commenting that the internet is full of dark and wicked things.
The thing is, I mean, these kind of things. It's a bit like when you had the Jamie Bulger killing, and everyone's kind of like, satanic. Well, no, because those are absolutely fictional. But these things seem to sound like, because the article I read actually tied this into. I don't know if you've ever heard of. There was a case in New Zealand. There's a movie called Heavenly Creatures. Peter Jackson.
Oh, right.
Before Lord of the Rings. Anyway, it was a case in New Zealand in the 50s. There was an English girl and a New Zealand girl, but they were both real fantasists, and they used to hang around just exclusively together and come out with all of these really kind of like, intricate worlds and things like that. And when the English girl was going to go abroad, they decided to murder the New Zealand lady's mother so they could stay together. I mean, they just had this complete. Yeah. They said even when they were in court and stuff like that, they were kind of like they were just really immature and kind of like we're just in this fantasy world. They kind of didn't almost realise what they'd done. It just, it seems to.
It can happen.
Yeah, it can. It's happened before, and sadly it'll probably happen again. Is where people just get too much into their own head and just don't think about the consequences of their actions, or aren't again not experts in any of this, so not trying to
But then you could tell me that
I think it's just convenient to sort of say it's well.
But then that bloke who turned up at that pizza restaurant because of QAnon. With a fucking automatic gun.
Yeah. To see where the dungeons were.
Yeah, all of that's fantasy.
Don't even have a fucking basement. Yeah, exactly. Totally. Yeah, I mean, it's something. I mean, that's.
I think that stuff can happen, like you said, it happened in the 50s and stuff. I think that the internet's quite a good breeding ground for it as well, though.
Yeah, people who just get too far down the rabbit hole with these things, and unfortunately, you've got people now weaponizing this kind of stuff where are actually kind of like spreading deliberate disinformation, which can actually end up with
people doing it for people like profiting from it.
Profit or just for political reasons or what have you. But
just for kicks if you're one of the
or just people. Someone just kind of like spreading just creating chaos and if someone gets killed then so be it. You have to fucking
I'm safe
tiny
here.
Soul. Yeah, exactly.
So, following the incident, a moral panic arose across the United States, with parents and teachers voicing their concern about the possible negative influence of the Slender Man. These concerns were further driven into a frenzy by incidents in 2014 and 15 that were linked to the Slender Man mythology. In 2014 incident, a young girl was alleged to have set fire to her home in Florida with her mother and siblings inside. The media reports later pointed out that, amongst other things, notably Soul Eater by Atsushi Okobu, the girl had been reading the stories of the Slender Man. And in 2015, a spate of attempted suicide amongst young people on the Pine Ridges Indian Reservation was linked back to the character who was cited as being an influence. The involvement of supernatural forces in the suicide epidemic was underlined when a high-ranking official from the Oglala Sioux tribe mentioned belief in a suicide spirit. Yeah, because there's like a much older thing which maybe Slenderman came from, which is of a tall, thin spirit in First Nation traditions, which kind of tries to convince people to commit suicide. So I think that's probably where Slenderman came from.
Yeah, I think it's just a mixture of things, isn't it? So that's probably where some of the embellishments and stuff came from. But yeah.
Conversely, it's interesting to note that Slenderman entered the mainstream media, became linked to these real-life incidents. The character's popularity online showed significant signs of waning with a massive dip in popularity in related outposts. It's also significant that it was in the wake of these real-life incidents that the picture of Slender Man as a benevolent or protecting figure began to emerge.
Yeah, because it's not, it's probably not as much fun making up these stories when there's
people
trying to claim that it's causing kind of real life incidents. Yeah, I mean, we won't get too much into it, but this is what seems to have happened because obviously, they tried to make some movies out of this. I think Doug Jones was in some Slenderman movie, which was far too late, and then they seem to have had to. I don't know what they seem to have cut out a load of the bits that might have been too similar to real life events. So,
I mean, what it says to me is that Slender Man was trying to get out in front of it and hire a PR firm to rehabilitate his image.
His image, yeah, classic
Hollywood.
Not in our modern era, Slender Man. No, you don't.
So influences.
I've spotted a little character here who's going to get very excited about the end of this paragraph.
Who is I am?
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that the Slenderman character in mythology was constructed by a disparate collection of creators over an extended period of time means that pinning down individual influences that may have contributed to the character's construction can be difficult. However, it is possible to trace some figures' tropes and characteristics that almost undoubtedly help shape the figure of Slenderman. Amongst the influence that Knudsen has acknowledged are Stephen King, the figure of the tall man in the horror movie Phantasm.
Nice.
The work of H.P. Lovecraft, as suggested by the appearance of the tentacles, and the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
Yeah, previous episodes.
So what's he got to do with it?
I've got no idea.
I've got no idea how he relates to this.
I mean, kind of like he creates the kind of hysteria and stuff, doesn't he? But yeah,
odd.
But there you go. He was inspired by the Mad Gasser of Mattoon.
And if you want to hear what he was all about, then you can listen to the episode from like series 1 or 2. One of the most immediately obvious influences, not mentioned by the author, are the Men in Black characters that populate many sci-fi television programs, have one incarnation in the Matrix films. Usually these figures are thought to represent some shadow government agency rather than being cryptids or malevolent entities in their own right, but the dark suit is definitely a reminiscent. Or if you're Dan Aykroyd, who believes that he's actually been followed by them because of his alien knowledge.
His UFO knowledge, yeah. They're trying to wipe his memory, but he just always one step ahead. It's too cunning for them.
Flick cigarettes and vodka at them.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that the suit just helps to ground it, doesn't it? And it's probably, easy to Photoshop, frankly. But if it was just like a tree thing, it probably wouldn't look as scary again. It's less is more, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it's probably just that was what he had, stock image of.
Yeah, just stretch it out a bit, out the face, and it makes it look a bit more eerie.
A spin-off of this theme and another possible influence are the characters of the Gentleman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, episode Hush. I think that's unlikely.
Yeah, great.
Blah, blah, blah. Not going to read that bit.
Again, I'm going to knock in Fringe because they actually were called the Observers and they were sort of bald on in suits, but it was literally the year before. But I mean, who knows? Jack Skellington they've got here as well from Nightmare.
Jack Skellington. Christmas is spookins. Good to see that the comments are continuing the good old tradition here underneath. From Rebecca B11. Even though I'm 23, I still have a feeling that something unnatural has been watching me since I was 5. I still have dreams about him, and it feels like I spent a million years trying to hide from him. Yet I want to see him and be around him. Sophs, me too. I always get the feeling that I'm being watched from my closet. My grandma died in the room with the closet, but the feeling I get is creepy and contains malice. My cat stares into the closet as well.
Clear proof of supernatural entities.
Kit Kat. Dude, I had the same feeling. I keep thinking something or someone is watching me. It's creepy, but I kind of want to meet it at the same time.
Oh, be careful, Kit Kat, what you ask for.
Very careful.
I mean, everyone's kind of had that from time to time, haven't they? Where you kind of like, it's just our senses are hardwired to sort of like
when
look
it's
for predators
dark.
when it's dark. Yeah, so
Yeah.
So there you go. There's the Slender Man.
Oh, what's this? Silence Girl. Back then in elementary school, when Slenderman was new to me, I wasn't sure if it was real or fake. Me and my friends at school decided to walk all the way across the fields to the woods. We weren't supposed to go there, but we were young and dumb. And one of my friends dared at least one of us to go in the woods. And in my little friends group, I was the quiet one. And of course, they put me up to the idiotic task. So I walked into the woods and found nothing but a dead bird, trash, and horrible stenches. So I left as soon as I got out, they ditched me. And I heard something, I looked behind me and saw a quick moving tall shadow. And me being young and dumb, I ran and went home. I'm going to assume that it was a bird or something. To be honest, I don't even know why I shared it. It was that long ago. But yeah, possible Slender sighting.
I mean, no, not really, but fair enough.
So, I mean, there's still people who are going on about it, but I mean, it's, yeah.
I like as well sketches there. If I saw a tall shadow that was possibly Slender, they've all got little names, haven't they? I would have tried to find him and ask if I could be a proxy.
Why?
Good to know you got an ambition there.
Well, good to know what your reasoning behind that is. Like, what's the end game for that?
I just think, normal people are far more terrifying than any Slenderman apparition, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I really hope I meet Slenderman so I can steal children.
Yeah.
It's always been a dream of mine. So that's Slenderman. So I think that's probably the most comprehensive that we've been with, so quite fitting for 100
characters. Yeah.
Probably one of the least funny as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's quite an intriguing one, but we've probably heard most of it before. I think it was interesting as well is that I kind of feel that this is one that's, I wonder how much longer it's going to stick around. But, interesting to watch the development of something.
Yeah.
The internet.
I guess with the internet stuff, what was that one, the creepypasta one we looked at? I can't remember. But the thing is, you'll the people who were doing all the Slenderman stuff and all of that, a new group of people might find it in 10 years and then try and find out more about it and that kind of stuff. There was, what was the one? There's a creepypasta one we did not that long ago, and
you got resurrected or something?
Yeah, because I can. Okay, so should we go through our scoring system, Neil?
Yes, let's.
So spookiness. Yeah, what do you reckon?
It's quite spooky. One thing is, I'm not 100% on what it's sort of. Supposedly it's killing people and all the rest of it, but it's. I mean, it's that kind of fear of the unknown, I guess, isn't it? Things just out the corner of your eye and things like that. I think what's quite good as well is that nothing is really definitive about. It's just little, little nods to what little characteristics that they've got. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think.
7 out of 10. What I was thinking was camera heads.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that was quite a famous one. I mean, it is. I think the fact that it's got all the photos and stuff is good because then it can kind of get stuck in your sort of your not your third eye, your internal visual whatever
vortex.
Don't
know.
And it's, I mean, it's the reason it's uncanny valley spooky, isn't it? Because it's humanoid, but without a face and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's quite visually, it's quite a scary character. I think the fact that it kind of can, I mean, I guess that no one sort of survives to say what it does is of the is what's implied, and the fact that it can, if you look at it, it can kind of hypnotize you or kind of take over your mind and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a good enough campfire story. Do you know what I mean? It's not super obvious either. And then he had a hook for a head or whatever. So
the head of a goldfish.
So yeah, I think I'll join you. I'll join you on Planet 7.
Yeah.
So believability. So I mean, so I think that there were people who knew, obviously, that they're just like they were mucking around and it was fun for them. I think, unfortunately, some people. I don't know how many, but I don't know whether it's all a nod and a wink.
Yeah,
Like the people who are putting in the comments here that it might have been. I don't know whether it's like a nod and a wink thing that everyone knows it's bullshit and everyone just sort of carries it on. I'm not sure how much people do believe it or not. Clearly, some people have, but people who have, or perhaps have, or have used it as an excuse or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's difficult because it's an internet meme. It's difficult to know whether some people. I mean, I would imagine some people have believed in it. So I'll give it some believability. Do I believe in it? No, of course not. So I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because the internet is just like most of it is just people going, "Oh yeah, I believe it." Wink, wink. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm going to go down the middle and give it a 5. Neil.
Well, it's going to be a high one for me, Chris. 10 out of 10 because there's photographic evidence. So it's,
okay.
I don't know what more you need. Yeah, no, I don't. I think, as you say, the vast majority of people are just, just playing a game, just enjoying kind of like saying that thing, or, so no, I don't think it's. Don't think anyone's really getting drawn in by that much, other than people with clear mental health issues are also getting drawn in by Ninja Turtles and Lord knows what else. And probably think all sorts of things are talking to them. So yeah, I think it's reasonably low on this one. I think it's a 4 out of 10 because I think people just. I think it's more what was fun about this one, but then what fades it away and why it's not so strong on believability and why I don't think it'll last that long is it was a fun thing for people to play and to build on the mythology.
Yeah.
But I don't think people really sort of convince themselves. But I mean, this might be a feature of a lot of the stuff that comes over the internet, before where it was a sort of tale as to, you could get away with saying, oh, well, somebody used to live in the woods and then they murdered like 20 people.
Yeah.
And they say he still haunts it to this day. And like, well, I don't really believe that, but who knows? You could get away with saying something like that, whereas now you can clearly see what the lineage and stuff of all of this is. So
yeah, that's the thing. Kind of,
I think it just takes the believability away, really. And
stuff like
very young and impressionable
storylines about there being like he might be a bit demonic, but like a murderer living in the woods is more believable and probably more scary than all this, to be honest. And like those stories definitely exist when you live near woods. Do you know what I mean? Or there's like Cannibal Hillbillies or something. Do you know what I mean?
Something like that.
That kind of stuff's kind of, that's better than this, really.
Yeah. So, four from me on believability, I think.
Okay. Narrative premise, Neil.
I think it's a funny one, this, because I think, weirdly, because there's not much to hook onto initially, or rather, because it's quite blank, there's a fair amount. So I'm kind of, it's not going to be like massively high, I don't think, because I don't think, well, I think the fact that kind of like everyone just been able to make stuff up, I think there's lots of gaps and lots of things you can embellish was quite good, and sort of like people were able to sort of build on it and all that sort of thing. But there's only so far you can go on it. And I think this is why they haven't been able to make a successful movie or anything like that. Because, well, it's not, it just hangs that, it's something that works, I think, on a web forum or something like that, or as a spooky story, it's something very, very quick. But trying to write like a whole book or a series or a movie, it just doesn't feel like it can stretch out to that long. But so I think I'm in two minds about this. So I'm going to give it a 6.
6. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can do films about any old shit. So it's.
I mean, you could make up a whole backstory, but then it would it would become rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Because if you've got more detail, it's the lack of detail that makes it interesting, and then the more detail you add, I think the more it diminishes it.
Yeah. So in itself, it doesn't have a good narrative Premise, right? Oh no, so it doesn't have a good narrative, but it's a good premise, I guess.
Yeah.
So the narrative's poor, but kind of I don't know, like kind of as a basis to do your own thing, it's quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
like a sponge cake. It's not brilliant on its own, but it's a good basis to embellish a very tasty cake.
Could be jam, could be lemon curd, depends on how you feel.
Exactly, it could be fresh strawberries and cream. So yeah, I mean, and people have got the thing is, like, even though people have gone off and done their own thing with it, I mean, it's all still much of a muchness. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's only, it's
but
still
the fact
kind
that
of
so many people decided to sort of, to get involved with it was interesting.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the main block in build your own horror story sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the premise is good and the narrative's poor. So I'm going to give it a 6 as well, Neil.
Cool.
And reach. So it's big. It's big. It's not quite Loch Ness Monster Bigfoot big, but I think it's one down because I think a lot of people will have heard of it. It obviously crossed over into the mainstream. I'd be interested to know if you ask 10 people on the street, have they heard of it? Again, I sort of think you have to be a bit online.
I'm not convinced. It's like one of those things, if you asked your mum, or
my mum wouldn't have heard of it.
I don't,
or people in the non-English speaking world.
Yeah.
So I don't, and it's not very old either. So actually, as I'm talking, it's dropping the reach. So I would say it's as big as a creepypasta's got.
Yeah.
But creepypasta being very much its own thing and not actually big when it comes to full public consciousness, even though it kind of might, like, there's a nod to it in The Simpsons and that kind of stuff. But there was a nod to Polybius in The Simpsons. Do you know what I mean? Like
which is reasonably obscure. Well, they do all sorts of obscure jokes as well in The Simpsons. Yeah.
So, do you know what? I'm only going to give it a 5, Neil. For reach.
Yeah, similar for me, I think, because I think the key for me, I mean, you've kind of gone through it there. I'm not convinced it's sort of necessarily massively big worldwide. I think it was huge for a creepypasta for its own, and obviously we've heard of it, so I think there's a tendency to kind of overestimate how big it actually is.
I think so.
But I think if it's like a family fortunes thing, how many people of different generations things would actually know about it? Probably not as much. Just if you've got to be of a certain age, I think. And I think the other thing is, I don't think it's going to age that well.
No.
I just think, 20 years' time, people aren't going to be thinking about stuff that was on web forums and that, again, unless you're of a certain age. It'll just seem really like weird and archaic. Again, you never know, one of these things could become like a kitschy kind of, but it's probably more likely to be something that was obscure at the time, and then you sort of, you reinvent it. It's like something that was more of a cult thing. Whereas
unless they do like a reimagining, like a Slenderman TV series starring Kevin Bacon or whatever.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Kevin Bacon, that's
Get ChatGPT to write it.
Yeah. So anyway, I think on that base, I'm going to give it a 6.
6. Okay. Well, that gives us an overall score of 46. So not that high for one that we thought was
big
massive.
100. Yeah. Well, it turns out, as I said at the start, I think we've missed the tide on this one a little bit.
Well, we learn as we go.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. That's episode 100 done, and that's the end of this series as well.
A mildly deflating 100th episode for the listener.
Lovely. I mean, it is, but it isn't, because we've done non-canon stuff. But yeah, so I mean, like I said at the start, and I thank everyone. We do thank everyone who kind of listened. We weren't sure that anyone would listen at all, and we got a couple hundred people who listened. So I mean, not more than once, most of them. But I mean, that's a good thing with having loads of episodes out. People,
take your pick.
Take your pick.
Like a lovely Wolves pick and mix doesn't exist anymore. Just take out the bits you like. Don't like licorice? That's fine.
That's fine. Give it to me. I love licorice.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, we do appreciate it. It is nice when you have a look and people have listened to it and stuff and hopefully enjoyed it, or you hate listening, and that's absolutely fine as well.
That's fine, yeah.
It's a kind of enjoyment. It's kind of enjoyment, isn't it? But yeah, so next week there'll be a release of our second annual mailbag episode. Make of that what you will. And so I think then 2 weeks afterwards, we will be sticking out, because not many people have listened to all of the episodes. I think that's fair to say. I'd say there's
some overlooked ones there.
I would say you could count the number on two hands, and that includes us. And also the algorithm that listens to it in Belgium.
Yeah.
So
Jean-Claude Van Damme, as I've told you many a time.
Yes, you believe. So we're going to release a couple of classic episodes just to kind of keep the ball rolling. But the new series will be starting on the 29th. So that's next week, mailbag, then a couple of classics, and then 29th we'll be back with the new series. But need to go and do the music and visuals and stuff for that, and have we deserve a little break now, don't we?
Summer break.
Little break. Yeah. But yeah, if you do ever want to get in contact, then it's herb.legends@podcast@gmail.com, or you can just leave a comment. You can leave them on Spotify now, and also on Apple and all of that jazz. Let us know what you think. Like and subscribe, give us a rating, or whatever you can be bothered doing. But we would appreciate it.
That would be good.
But yeah, apart from that, hope you've enjoyed this series. It's been a mixed bag, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a new one, and hopefully you'll all still be there rooting for us. Cool. All right. Take care, everyone, and we'll speak to you soon. And have a good few weeks. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Antennae. Server. USB. Wi-Fi. Chip and pin. Busy bit.